Welcome to our celebration season, 100 episodes in the books, and the growth and the change and the revelation that has come from that is some of what I'm going to talk to you about today. First, beige is not brave, brilliance is. And I came to this beige and not brave only to keep myself from bouncing back into my white bubble of protection while the world burned around me, to find that I was surrounded by brilliant guests and creators and entrepreneurs and executives that moved my needle one baby step at a time for 100 episodes throughout those 2.5 years. Not in one moment, not in one conversation, in the accumulation of every honest exchange I curated in this space with guests who trusted me with their real story and listeners who trusted me with mine. I am Kim Brassor. This is One Voice Evolving. We are raw, real, and relatable. And this is the last episode of the season that made me into someone I did not fully know I was becoming when I recorded episode 1. When the podcast began, I didn't know that my introversion would find its most natural home in the deeper one-on-one conversations I was about to curate. I didn't know that the aha moments I was chasing for myself would start arriving through other people's stories. I didn't know that the awareness I was developing about whose stories get told, whose stories get believed, and whose get buried would become the entire architecture of this platform. I didn't know that the personal was political, but I know it now. What began as an experiment, a single question, was, what has racism cost me? Because until it becomes personal, there's no reason to have to go take action. That's somebody else's problem over there. And then when I realized that it had cost me my security, my safety, my self-esteem, when I didn't speak up when I saw something wrong because I wasn't one of those, when I dummied down to fit in the corporate structure, the next question became, could my one voice evolving move the needle to advance racial equity in the United States in my lifetime? And it was only when I started down that path as a successful business entrepreneur and HR person that I realized that when you say racial equity, even 2.5 years ago, the algorithm tides had already turned, and the political nature to begin to smooth the edges of that, or censor you, or call it political when I didn't have a political bone in my body back then. At least that's what I thought. So I thought I was building a platform about race, and what I found was something other underneath it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And that's what we're going to carry into round 2 of One Voice Evolving, beginning at the very end of June for July 1 and the 4th of July. We've got a hot number coming right before the 4th and on the 5th that you won't want to miss. So patriarchy is the connective tissue, the system that holds all the isms sacred through white elitists while causing harm to the global majority of women, children, and people of color. It doesn't matter if it's race, class, gender, body, sexuality, or faith. Patriarchy is the thread running through every single one. That understanding didn't arrive in one episode. It arrived across 100 of them as I would take the baby steps to feel what I felt, to see what I saw, to hear what I heard, and to be committed to doing it differently. And so this season, I'm asking every woman in this space, what has patriarchy cost you? My Substack will unpack that question personally under the title Fat Serenity for as long as it takes, because the first place that patriarchy showed up for me was at my mother's knee from birth to breeding. Leave it at that. All the stories are getting unpacked on Substack because that is my personal space for growth for as long as it takes. 100 conversations taught me that the story changes completely depending on who's telling it, and apparently so does the history of the story. It taught me something I didn't expect to learn about our society, our governance, and about myself as a product of it. It taught me about the rights that white skin has bestowed on me and my family that have nothing to do with merit and everything to do with proximity to power, and helped me understand why people hold that proximity to power, even at great personal cost to their livelihood, their family safety, their ideas of identity. Rights have nothing to do with merit. And that's not a comfortable thing to say out loud. And that's exactly why I'm saying it. I was born to tell the family secrets, and family, we got some secrets to deconstruct. It taught me how patriarchy gets handed down, not just through institutions and laws. Racism is a tentacle of patriarchy. So is capitalism. So is misogyny. So is sexism. Not just through the laws, but through our matriarchal lineages, not just through the things other women who did the most damage by upholding the patriarchy did, but through my actual DNA from generations, from centuries, from millennia of memories that live in and through us that we are unconscious of. And as AI has come through and homogenized all of our stories into one overarching narrative that doesn't make anybody too uncomfortable and keeps the power in place, we have a new challenge. We had women who handed us the rules because they loved us and called it protection. Through the silence that got passed down as survival, through the tears that got swallowed. Because crying makes you look weak, and then people target you, and then you have no friends, and then you die alone. Just ask them, the spinster model. This week, I sat with a young girl who has already internalized that belief. At an age when she should still be learning how to trust her own feelings. 6 months of therapy has given her no insight and no tools. She is just getting by. No practical skills for the real world she has to walk back into every single day. Not just the bullies, the mean girls, the ones whose rejection cuts to the bone in ways that don't show up on any diagnostic criteria, the ones she thinks are her friends, as long as she does what they want her to do. I helped with that, not the first time, and it won't be the last, but it did make me conscious of the fact that that girl at 11 is what I needed at 11, that I couldn't find, didn't exist, wasn't safe, that I am now. And I sit with her, and I honor her, and I see her. And if you have inner child work to do or inner healing to do, I am that same presence for you. So I say I work with women over 40 who are midlife. It's not your mama's menopause. But what happens is after menopause, after midlife, after you're done raising your outer kids, then you begin to realize that you have an inner child who has some healing to do. We've been keeping some secrets buried for a while that need to come to the surface. And so the reason I can work with 11-year-olds with confidence is because I see the 11-year-old in myself and in the women I work with every day. Because those things we bury, they don't go away. They aren't forgotten. They get buried alive. And when we have the time and the energy to stop for a minute our busy lives, they come bubbling back up to the surface right where we left them. And we can pick up the thread now and heal it, or we can stuff it back down with more scrolling, more eating, more spending, more sexing, whatever the addiction of the day is. But it'll pop back up. It keeps coming around. History rhymes. So that's what 100 episodes of excavating my own story made possible. Not a credential, not a certification, a woman who did the work and knows how to hand the tools to somebody who needs them in real time. I am tired of proving myself. No more defending, no more explaining, no more apologizing for my sovereign choices to live my daily life in this body however I see fit, understanding that it's never going to be good enough for people who out there who want to blame, shift, or shame other women so they can feel superior. No more going along to get along, no more trying to fit in, no more making up stories to pretend I belong, and no more beige, only brilliance. In my heart of hearts, I have believed that if people really saw me, they wouldn't want me, just like that young woman that I worked with. My 11-year-old therapy session taught me something. It's time to say, enough. And if you've been watching me at all this year or the year before, you know that if I don't tear up, it's not real for me. This hits. When is it enough? When you say it is. Not just for myself, for the sea of voices who don't yet see the conditioning they carry. Because if they did, they would know and they would do it differently. It is not just the way things are. It doesn't have to be. It is a choice. And you can always change your mind. And what gets passed on to the next generation changes with it. It is not too late. You're not too old. In fact, this time of your life, this is prime time. Don't waste it. I carry two absolutes into everything I build from here. I carry two absolutes to everything I build from here. The first is that we could solve almost every problem we face if we talk to people instead of about them. No more gossip, no more backbiting, no more backstabbing. The second, assume good intent. Don't assume malicious intent until they prove otherwise. But when they show you who they are, believe them, protect yourself, and act accordingly. Both are hard to do when trust is broken, but necessary anyway. This is not naivete. This is the discipline of a woman who has decided that connection is more powerful than contempt, even when contempt is easier. I see my worth and my value as sovereign, not hooked to the mediocre men who try to keep women from bonding and banding together to make a difference. Not measured by some marketing monetization mindset that patriarchy loves to use as a proxy for worth. How much do you make? What do you do? What's your job title? Where's your office? Corner office? You have a window? Just me, moving through the world I touch in meaningful waves and ways. One starfish at a time, if need be, but not limited in scope by fear. The new me, the one for round 2, is equipped. I am bolder, braver, and not afraid to say what I see about myself, my family, my career, my peers, or the powers that be. We are only as sick as our secrets, and I am through coddling contemptuous behavior. I'm through couching what I see in beige, inoffensive language designed to protect the comfort of people who are counting on my silence to keep things exactly as they are. Beige is not brave. Brilliance is. Brilliance is not a personality trait. It's a decision. Shine brightly. It is what happens when a woman stops negotiating with the rules long enough to examine whether they deserve her compliance at all. Most of them don't. And understanding that the global majority carry the method and the means to reclaim their voice, restore what was taken, and initiate revival in its truest form. Disconnected from the systems that made good a commodity and spirituality a sin. So the altar I leave to mark this passing is a spiritual one and a practical one, because that's how I roll. I published the Solopreneur's Guide to Podcasting, what 100 podcasts have taught me, and how somebody with limited resources, no experience, but something to say can find a platform. Available now in the Stand Store. You can read more about my personal evolving on Substack. You can watch on YouTube or listen to podcasts that are roundtable discussions, not talking heads. And you can join us in the Cove for tools to live your dreams without drama, not the life of somebody else's script. That is One Voice Evolving. That is what it was always trying to become. And I'm Kim Brassor, your friend, the founder, and facilitator. The door is open, the invitation stands, no permission required.